Welcome to vlog number 48. I can't believe we're already at vlog number 48, but here we are, 48, pretty awesome. This is the vlog where I discuss the process of creating and making my graphic novel, Quarterly Stories, which is a very personal story to me that I handwrite, hand letter, and hand draw, and then hand to you. It's a story about faith and mental illness, and you can check it out at quarterlystories.com. But this is the vlog where I talk about that and the process of also creating that type of comic on top of being a father and having a full-time job as an art director. So, I'm on my commute to work and I'm just thinking about my goals. As I've discussed in previous videos, I use this time on my commute to really think about how I'm going to hone in on my goals. And my goal for today is a very small one, but it's my working on my comic for 30 minutes a day. And my hope is to get panel 7 of page 46 for Quarterly Stories done penciling. That'll be interesting to see if I get that done. If I do, I will show it at the end of this video. But right now, I'm also thinking about active listening, something that I'm reading about a lot in the management books that I've been constantly reading. So just to give you a little background, I have been an illustrator for almost 15 years now. I guess I've been a professional illustrator and graphic designer for over 15 years. And with my own business, I work for clients varying from like Merrill Lynch to Scholastic to Women's Health to Wired Magazine to just doing tons of t-shirt work. T-shirts that were, sold in stores and distributed. Some of them went viral. And my launching pad for that whole t-shirt thing was Threadless. So I still get some passive income from some of the t-shirts I did in the past, which is a nice thing. Just to explain passive income, for those of you who don't know the term, is income earned passively. So it's not like that big of a word. It's just literally like you've already done the work, so you're earning income for work you did a long time ago. And I'm a big fan of passive income. And I think even the YouTube model for advertising revenue is a passive income type model. Like if you do enough videos and a couple of them go viral, you'll be earning passive income for a video you did like a year ago or something. So total tangent on passive income. And my goal today is to stay directed on the topic of active listening. So, why I got into my background a bit, though, is to explain that when I got recruited to be an art director, I wasn't quite sure how to manage. And I had managed classrooms because I had been a college professor, but I didn't quite understand how to manage people. And I've since had like management training courses. I've read a lot of books on management, and I'm kind of figuring the thing out, 2.5, almost 3 years into this gig of managing people. But what's interesting and what kind of keeps me engaged at my job is the element of managing people. Managing people is entirely different than excelling really well at the job that you do. So let's say you're a really good artist. Management doesn't necessarily need you to be a good artist to manage artists well. Let's say you're really good at whatever it is that your solely directed thing is. That's great, and that'll get you very far in the workplace, but it doesn't necessarily translate to managing people, and that's something I've been learning kind of the hard way. So anyhow, the point being, there are a million books on how to manage people, because it's a totally different ballgame, because you're trying to lead people to do tasks, and so it's not so much about you being the rock star who knocks stuff out. How do you lead others to be rock stars who will knock stuff out in team efforts so that they can accomplish things that an individual alone could not accomplish on their own? And so I've made a lot of the basic mistakes in early management. I think when I first started, I was very much like coming in as this award-winning illustrator who had worked for 1 million clients, and I know my stuff, and I would just try to take every job, take every design job, and just basically just be the art team because I knew I could do the tasks. And that was a failure on my part. But what I ended up learning later on was that delegation is a huge part of management. And of course, you learn that lesson pretty quick when you try to take on all the tasks because you find yourself swimming and and able to balance it. So you have to really be able to learn to trust your team to take care of tasks. I had to learn a lot of things on the job the hard way, and I'm still kind of learning and refining my management style and tactic, and I'm constantly reading up on it. But one of the things that I'm really hoping to improve on as a manager is my active listening. A weakness of mine my whole life has been that I talk a lot. Like, I talk a lot. I tend to, talk over people sometimes, and it's actually a really bad habit to have. It can be a strength in the sense of doing a talk in front of a group of aspiring illustrators where you're answering, doing Q&A, or where you're maybe narrating or writing. Like, writing, it's not bad in writing to want to have a voice and to really insist on having a voice. To be honest, actually, I will get into that because I think active listening affects your writing as well. Active listening, the idea of active listening is that in order to be an effective leader of people, you need to really hone the task of active listening, which is really listening to people. And not just really listening to people, but listening to people in a way where you are making them fully aware that you are listening. It's about making conversations about other people than yourself. And I'll admit to being really weak at this. I think we all, as human beings, when you hear a conversation, say you're listening to this, or if I were listening to this vlog, and somebody said active listening, I'd want to chime in and go, oh, active listening, I've been reading all about it, and me. And I think that's innately built into us because we all want to express ourselves and we all have a desire to be heard. So the thinking behind why a good leader is going to be an active listener is because what you need to be doing as a manager is fulfilling that need for people to be heard. You need to be taking care of problems and envisioning future problems and envisioning future solutions. And in order to make effective solutions or effectively be able to predict anything, what you need is a lot of information. And what active listening does is it allows your staff to feel more comfortable to be able to discuss almost anything with you. And to that extent, when they feel comfortable to kind of share, what you're going to get is a lot of information. And information is important. You're going to get all that juicy, interesting, great information that's going to help you to service your employees. What you're also going to get is communication from the employees about your own failings and about that employee's struggles. And what that'll allow you to do is basically, in turn, help that employee out. So there are a bunch of methods to active listening. There are, the first method of active listening would be to talk less than you're hearing. So, like, for instance, if someone is talking, you can listen to them say something twice before you say anything. And that shows respect to the person you're listening to. Another huge thing is eye contact, which I can't really do in the car with you guys. If I did that too much, I would probably crash. The point being, like, you maintain really solid eye contact with the person that you're listening to, and you might even want to lean in a little bit to make sure that they visually can tell. And this is why it's not just called listening. Active listening is both actually listening and visually listening. So all your visual cues need to be showing the person that you're talking to that you are really interested in what they have to say, that you care, that you're engaged, and that you're interested. So eye contact, that's number 2. Number 3 would be asking questions. So if somebody starts a conversation, a little bit into the conversation, ask them, well, how would that happen? Or what do you think of that? Or why do you think they would have said that? Or was that very frustrating? Or, letting them know that you're engaged and you're listening and you want to be specific towards what they're saying as well. So for a lot of people, they're just natural active listeners, and those people I'm really jealous of. I have had a mouth, like I've just rambled and had an issue, a struggle with talking too often, to the point where when I was a kid, I used to get kicked out of class, not for being a bad student, for talking too much. And even as an A student, I remember multiple times teachers having to discuss with me, like, you need to learn how to control your talking. So I talk a little too much, and that's a problem when it comes to listening or to other people feeling listened to. And it actually, what it does is it makes the people around you feel like you care more about yourself than them. And I know from being a person who talks too much, actually, that's usually not the case for the talker. The talker usually thinks they're trying to keep the conversation going. They're trying to show that they are interested in you by keeping the conversation up. And yet what they're doing instead is kind of, at least what I've been doing in the past when I've struggled with that, and presently whenever I slip and I struggle with that, is communicating to the person that, is sitting next to you that you can care less what they have to say. And that's not a great thing to communicate to people. I don't want to communicate that to people, and I'm interested in people. I'm interested in what makes people tick. I'm interested in, who's subscribing to this channel. I'm interested in, what my friends have to say. But I can say, thinking back, I can tell that I've left that impression with people before when I've interrupted or had those kind of talking over people issues. It's just a problem to not be able to actively listen. So number 3, asking the right questions. Number 4 is smiling. When you're listening to somebody, which for me, I'm not a person who smiles a lot. That doesn't mean I'm an unhappy person. I have messed up teeth, right? And so when I was younger, I would kind of not smile a lot because I was embarrassed about showing these funny chompers, But when you're listening to somebody and you're making eye contact, you're using your eyebrows and your face to show positive response to what you're hearing, and you're smiling, you're showing that you are enjoying the conversation, which is a good thing, because I don't know if you've ever talked to somebody who's frowning and looking away. Generally, that's a good signal that they are not engaged or interested in anything you have to say. And keep in mind, if you're staff, you can kind of get away with that. But if you're trying to rise up and you're having to lead people, active listening is really important. Because when people feel listened to, they feel thankful to the person who's hearing them out. And not only that, when you listen to people and people feel comfortable with you, you find out information that's really important and sometimes not pleasant about yourself, about things you need to improve with your life, about what's going on in their life so that you can better lead them and help them out and help them find solutions to their problems or their struggles. Often, a lot of times, issues resolve themselves just by having someone listen. And so, as a manager and as an art director, I need to improve on my active listening skills. And I'll be exercising this more in my general life until it becomes a habit. I can say from the last 2 or 3 days of just trying to really consciously focus on active listening. I've read about it a lot, I've tried it before, but I haven't really given it a gung-ho try like my comic, where I'm spending 30 minutes a day, regardless of my comic. Well, active listening is something I need to be practicing all day with everyone, because it's absolutely essential to leading people. And not just to leading people, I would go even further. So, why else should somebody actively listen? Say you're listening to this and you're not an art director, you're an aspiring cartoonist and you're working on comics. Why do I need to learn how to actively listen to people? I listen to people. Well, active listening also, like I said, provides you with a lot of information. And information is good. Information is good for you if you're a storyteller, if you're an artist. Information goes in here and it can come out right in your pen. The more information that you can collect as an artist and store and use and kind of weigh out, the more easily you'll be able to create artwork that resonates with people because it's speaking truth. And in order to find truth sometimes, it really requires an active listener. One of the books I'd recommend that mentions the skills of active listening is How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is if you're ever going into management or you're trying to learn how to lead, that's just a fundamental book. It's one of the first you should ever read. There are 20 other books that I've read other than that mention active listening, but that one is one of the source books that talks about active listening. Another that I'm reading currently is First Time Manager. And First Time Manager is a really good book that I probably should have read as a first-time manager. But much like a lot of first-time managers, I hadn't even heard of it, and I didn't know I needed it until it was a little too late. And now I'm learning more, and learning more about what I should have done and what I should be doing in the future to more effectively lead people and to make their work life better. I mean, my goal in reading all of these management books and leadership books is to become a better leader. And that doesn't have to do with just work. Like, that's the beauty of these kind of books. It actually, anytime I improve on my management skills and my leadership skills at work, it actually affects how good of a father I am. It affects how good of a husband I am. It really just across the board affects your life in general. So to me, it's like, I think you can take a few routes to doing anything. You could say become a graphic designer and say, okay, that's it, I've learned all, and I'm just going to do this thing that I've done forever and I know, and that's it. Or you can get absorbed and go, what am I weak at? What can I improve on? How can I be better and faster, quicker, and more effective at what I'm doing? And if you have that attitude of like, how can I be better, quicker, more effective at what I'm doing all the time, I think that you're going to be constantly improving and you're going to be constantly learning. And if you're like me, like I don't view myself as like a perfect art director at my work. I always try to look at it like I have this goal of being a perfect art director. And one of the biggest parts of being a really strong art director is being able to lead people and have their devotion and their trust, and also be able to inspire them to light a fire and really push the limits of what they're creating. And there are some times where I'm able to do that with my staff, but to be honest, it's gonna be a while until I really figure this thing out. And I think that's kind of what I've been learning as a parent too. A lot of people, are very judgmental of parents when they're not a parent. And I was one of them, where if I had a friend over who had a kid and they were having a tantrum, I'd just be like, in the back of my mind, like, what a brat, they need to blah, blah, blah. They need to do this. They need to do that. They should do this. And I was being very judgmental of them. And once becoming a parent, you got a toddler and they just decide to have a tantrum in the middle of a store or like at your friend's house. A lot of the time, those tantrums result from like no nap, not eating. Maybe they didn't eat enough, just, needing a snack. I mean, a lot of the times it's as basic as that. Just they didn't eat and they didn't sleep. Would I have known that as a non-parent? No. I wouldn't have been like, what irresponsible parents, their kid just skipped their nap, so now he's angry and frustrated because he's exhausted. I never would have even thought that. So as a parent, very early on, you start learning this principle, this idea that, you start thinking about your own parents, you start thinking about other parents, and you start realizing no parents know 100% what they are doing. And I think bad parents feel like they know 100% what they're doing. The worst parents I've met are the ones that are like, I know how to do this. I've got this handled. Don't worry. I've got it. I know what I'll do when he's this age. I know I have this whole thing down. It's awesome. That's the person I would distrust the most to be a strong parent. Because if they have that attitude with their child when they get older, then I'm sure their kid's going to resent the fact that the parents think they know it all and don't listen and don't modify or adapt or change. To me, there's that. So you're creating this illusion for your children that when really a lot of the time we're kind of figuring it out on the way. And we're figuring it out through mistakes. Like, you make a mistake and then you go, okay, you can't do that again. I think that's life. I think that there are people who, even masters of things, like absolute masters of, say, the arts, I don't think that they became masters thinking they knew what they were doing. I think they kind of knew some things, and they were constantly exploring to find out better, more efficient, more effective ways to become the masters that they eventually became. What do you guys think about active listening? What have your experiences been like talking to somebody who doesn't seem like they're listening to you? Do you think you could get better at active listening as well? I know, like, I myself really need to work on that, and it's going to be a long project because, like I said, I'm an ornery, talkative person, and for that kind of personality, taking on something like active listening is going to require a lot of focus. Another last thought on active listening, why I want to improve on it, is that at the end of the day, outside of just selfish reasons, it makes people feel better. People respect you more, and people also feel heard, which makes them feel better. So to me, I want the people in my life to understand that I love them, that I care about them, that I really want to know what they have to say about everything. I want to know their thoughts on things. I want to know what their struggles are. And unless I improve at being an active listener, they may not fully know that or realize it. So anyhow, just a thought. I feel like almost like today's update is a little self-improvement one, but you know what? Self-improvement is always positive. So I will see you guys next week. And I keep saying next week, but sometimes these vlogs seem to be almost like once a day, and then sometimes they're once a week. I get them out as quick as I can. Lastly, if you've enjoyed this vlog or any of my other vlogs, I just ask you to consider to like, subscribe, comment, and share these videos. It really helps get the word out and it helps grow the subscribers on my channel.